Warning. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect that of the HHN TV or its constituent entities. Furthermore, some parents may not find this content suitable for children as it contains explicit language and subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised. Or, if you're a bitch, don't fucking watch this shit. Hello, everybody. I'm Drew Duncan. The show's fired up, and we are live. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. You can find me wherever you're listening to podcasts. Matter of fact, just Google Fired Up by Drew Duncan, my man, and I'm going to pop right up. Plenty to get to today. We're going to be talking about Lamar Jackson and his comments on what he has to say about trophies and Super Bowls. We're going to be talking about Brandon Ayuk and trade rumors. We're going to be talking about Valdez. Could have set a record. Ended up getting outed in the final inning of the game last night. Pitcher for the Houston Astros. We're going to be talking about Ice Cube and the Big Three. We're going to be talking, obviously, Giants and Lions scuffle. Plenty to get to today. So I want to hit on Lamar Jackson first, right? Because he was asked about his trophy case and is everything separate. And he just said, look, man, it's all the same to me. The one trophy that I want is a Super Bowl trophy. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, that's just good speech. That's what he's supposed to say. That's all well and good, but look at what he's done in the playoffs. Look, I want to remind everybody really quick some key highlights in the already young career of Lamar Jackson, because there can only be one winner at the end of the season. And not everybody is Patrick Mahomes. First of all, Lamar Jackson, he is the two-time MVP of the NFL. And let's not forget that as a rookie, he took over that football team that had a losing record and got him to the playoffs. And make no mistake about what happened this past season in the AFC Championship game. That was 100% a coaching problem with Harbaugh. The Chiefs' defense ranked 18th in the NFL a season ago against the run. And the Ravens said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to throw it 80% of the time against one of the best pass defenses in all the NFL. They won't see that coming. Bro, they were literally leaving the middle of the field wide open for run plays. They were begging you to throw that football. And why in the absolute hell did you throw it 20-plus times straight at one point? See, that's just it, man. He can't carry him with the pass. Did anybody see Patrick Mahomes and how he played in that game? And by the way, the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs last year, if you go back and watch their games, they weren't that great offensively for the most part. They had a couple of really long, sustained drives, one pretty much in each game, that basically won them games leading up to the Super Bowl. That Chiefs defense is not getting enough credit, but I am telling you right now, the Ravens play calling played a huge part. You're getting 6+ yards a carry, and what are you doing? You're throwing the damn football a ridiculous amount. And for anybody wondering, Patrick Mahomes, as great as he is, I would still take Lamar Jackson on my team. I'm not saying I wouldn't take number 15 because he's the best quarterback in the NFL. But you know, there's other QBs out there that are really good too. They are just running into number 15 and bad coaching decisions. It was overthought. And, you know, I say it all the time. These coaches, they overthink it. They get too cute on these 4th and short plays, these goal line plays. Just sneak it. Go old school. Line up your tight end as a fullback and just pound the ball up the middle. Why are we complicating every damn thing in the NFL? Football at its core is a very simple game. And if I'm the Ravens, what I do best is run the football. I, there would have been 45 to 55 carries combined between Jackson, Robbins, all the running backs, Dobbins. It would have been lights out running the football. I mean, honestly, why do you think they went out and got Derrick Henry? Now, whether or not he's going to fit in schematically and in the locker room, that's a different subject. But what I'm telling you is I think this is why. But it may have been too late for a lesson learned. Speaking of free agents or trade rumors, whatever the hell you want to call it, Brandon Ayuk continues to be at the forefront of it all. Well, here, look, I've been saying this for years, okay? Being a head coach, being a GM, being a scout, your responsibility is to go out and get the best possible player. But the best possible player is not necessarily the best possible player for your team. And the thing that I always ask is if you are willing to trade somebody, if you're willing to let somebody go, whatever the case may be, are you going to get better with them leaving, or are you going to get worse? And one of the things that I talked about when Odell Beckham Jr. signed with the Cleveland Browns was, look, how's he going to get along with the guys in the locker room? It's a different atmosphere. How's he going to get into the play calling system? There's just so many different factors, right? The practices. I mean, come on, man. You had Kevin Durant supposedly when he was with the Nets going, well, we did it like this in Golden State. Well, it was like this in Golden State. Bro, you're not at Golden State anymore. You're in Brooklyn. And their coach is going to have a different way of doing things. There is an adjustment period. And if you can't adjust, then it is not going to work. So anybody could talk about him going to the Cleveland Browns or the New England Patriots or the Pittsburgh Steelers or who the hell ever. To me, it's all a moot point because whether or not it's going to work out is a completely different thing. And of course, all this started because allegedly Brandon Ayuk wanted a few $1 million more, which I'm not going to tell somebody what they're worth, and I'm damn sure not going to be in another man's pockets. It's really weird to me that we try to dictate, well, what are you going to do? If the man wants traded, then he wants traded. And let's not forget that when this whole thing initially started, him and his agent both said, look, we haven't formally requested a trade. And according to Brandon Ayuk's agent, he never wanted a trade. So, I look, there's probably some other things going on there. It is what it is. My thing is, if I'm looking at the teams that were the front runners, supposedly, the New England Patriots, Jeremy already said, look, if there's one thing I learned from Bill Belichick, and that you don't talk about another team's player. Well, there you go. And supposedly they're out of the running. They don't want him. For whatever reason, whether it's a financial thing, whatever the case may be. Then you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, they've already got their lineup pretty much sewed up. I don't think you need to add anything there. You know, especially with contractually, you've got to remember that a lot of this stuff has to do with, you know, how many targets, how many catches, all that stuff. Bonus money comes into play. I mean, that's what pissed off Antonio Brown, right? That supposedly Brady helped Gronk get his bonus, but not him. And then I look at the Cleveland Browns, and I'm thinking to myself, they could use some help offensively, but I'm more worried about the quarterback position because is Deshaun Watson going to be healthy or not? What am I going to get with Deshaun Watson coming up this season? While I think Ayuk could potentially fit in Cleveland, who's throwing him the football is going to be a huge thing. So I just, for my money, I think right now it's a catch-22. He's not going to want to go to Denver, I'll tell you that much. Not after the way they treated Russell Wilson. What really good player would want to be with the Denver Broncos right now? I said at the outset that they had screwed themselves in free agency because of the way they handled the Russ situation. Who the hell did they get in free agency that's of significance? They were losing guys. So you're not going to want to go over there. The Saints, What I'm saying is there's teams out there that could definitely use a good wide receiver. But would he want to go there? Is he going to fit in there? I mean, if it's all about the dinero, I guess really who gives a damn? But it is what it is. For my money, I don't know that the 49ers did the right thing by letting him go. I think the 49ers and Brandon Ayuk work. I think you get worse without Brandon Ayuk. Now there's more pressure back on Debo. Now you have even more pressure on McCaffrey running back. Now you got even more pressure at TK at tight end. Now you got even more pressure on the offensive lineman. Now you got even more pressure on Brock Purdy. I think you get worse without him. And if you wanted a few extra $1 million, to me, for that franchise, he was worth it. But it is what it is. I think I'd have stuck it out. Look, getting back to the Super Bowl is a lot harder than people think that it is. I know that Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady have made winning look like it's easy, but it's not. It's just not easy. If that was the case, everybody would be winners. But you can't be. So, for my money, I would have done everything I could to hang on to him. But I think once he put out that video saying they don't really want me, bro, and it ended up, in fact, being about the 49ers, because I'm going to keep it a buck. I really thought, I was like, man, maybe this is about Twitter, because Twitter banned him. And nope. It's about Frisco. So, Ice Cube, he went on ESPN, and he was promoting the Big Three, of course, and it's kind of crazy that he's over there, to be honest with you, and they didn't talk about it because there is a lawsuit where he has talked to FBI lawyers and investigators against the NBA for allegedly going to sponsors and going to networks and saying, look, maybe don't sponsor the Big Three. Maybe don't have Big Three games on there. Basically trying to pull a power move. We still haven't seen the end of that result. Or that allegation, I should say. Regardless, he went on there and said, look, I'm so confident in the Big Three that we want to go against the gold medal winners out of the Olympics. We'll set it up right before a championship game. Look, I think it would be entertaining. I'm not going to lie. There's a part of me that feels like Cube is clout chasing a little bit. Not that he needs to, but simultaneously he's got to promote the brand, right? I mean, what are you going to do? You can't just sit around not promoting the brand. You got to keep it out there. And obviously part of why it happened in the Olympics anyways is because of Cube and what's going on with the Big Three. The homeboy P, I know he's a huge fan. But I'm not really into it, if I'm keeping it real. I'm not really sure why. I've tried to watch it. I just don't really find it that entertaining. I think there's too many different layers to the game that make it a little bit more complex than I think it needs to be. Simultaneously, how do you make 3-on-3 basketball entertaining? You can't just have three guys playing 3-on-3, right? You shoot from here, it's worth 10 now. You know, it is what it is. It's kind of like a live action video game style, I guess, if you want to put it that way. At least to me, that's what I saw. Right? I feel like I'm watching a video game happen live, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, shit, man, we make movies about it all the time, right? But I don't know. I think that would probably get me to watch. Like, oh, okay, here we go. Gold medal against the Big Three and the best. Because, you know, obviously a big conversation has been, like Charles Barkley, he talked about it with Dan Patrick. You know, could the best in the NBA just take on the best against the rest of the world? Yeah, and they left out Wemby for whatever reason in that conversation, but you know, they mentioned plenty of other guys. So that's kind of like how this whole thing has started, right? Now, me personally, I think the best in the USA with, let's say, 1998 basketball rules, they dominate. They dominate, and they dominate hands down, because that is America's game. You got to remember, and I've said this before, with Team USA, the issue there for a while was they were having difficulty adjusting to the Olympic rules. There were things that you could do in the Olympics that you couldn't do in the States, and vice versa. And so that adjustment was really difficult, and they weren't doing well. And I think the NBA threw their hands up and said, look, we're just going to have to do this in order to make the NBA competitive, our players in the USA against everybody else in the Olympics. I think that had the biggest factor in it. And, of course, it opened up, for the Euro invasion and for everybody else to come in. Now, it wasn't like there weren't guys before, right? You had Tony Kukoc, you had Vlade Divac, you had Luke Longley. You had a host of other guys that were not born in the States, and they came over and they played pretty good basketball. Tony Kukoc was good, but he wasn't great. But remember, they had to adjust to our game over here. I think if Tony Kukoc came over in today's game, he would have been a lot better in today's basketball than he was back then. Because back then, you get turned into a role player. Now everybody does the same shit. Everybody can shoot from the tray line. Well, except for Draymond, but it is what it is. And even then, everybody's rebounding, everybody's passing, everybody's bringing the ball up the court, and that's thanks to Magic Johnson. His style really opened that up. And so overseas, they just practice being that guy. Him and Larry Bird changed basketball forever. Years down the road, yes. But you got to think 10-year-old Luka sitting around watching Magic highlights, watching Larry highlights. And everybody that was playing at the time, then they pass it down, and then they pass it down, and now everybody's got the same style. It was a trickle-down effect. That's the way that it is. I know it's difficult for people to accept today's basketball the way that it is because it's become so offensive-friendly, but they did it out of necessity, whether anybody likes it or not, because the Olympics are big business. I mean, the IOC raked in $7.6 billion, and 91% of that was media rights alone. So I think Cube is using the big three as a way to go, look, even our older guys can take on those younger gold medal winners. If we play our style of basketball, which even then is not going to be really American basketball, right? It's going to be big three style. So I think it would be entertaining, but I don't know if it would be point proven. But I think if you took the best in the United States, I mean, come on, man. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, we've already seen them on the same basketball team together. Draymond Green defensively, Dylan Brooks defensively, Karl Anthony Thomas. I think America would be very competitive. Jason Tatum, look at the way Jaylen Brown just played. I don't doubt America's competitive capability. Playoff Jimmy, no, I really don't doubt it. Especially if we play American basketball rules from like 98. Now, in today's game, who the hell knows? I mean, you get somebody like Anthony Davis down there. I don't know, with that wingspan, him matched up against Jokic. But Jokic is going to take him on the outside. So you're going to need somebody like Draymond who's going to be willing to press him and who can move side to side with him. Today's rules, look, man, you got Wemby, you got Luka, you've got Jokic. Man, I don't know. today's rules, I think the world takes it. But understand you're pulling from everywhere. You know, Giannis, all those guys, you're pulling from everywhere. Today's rules, yeah, they win. And I really don't think there's any doubt about it, as a matter of fact. 1998, it's not even close. Top heavy in American basketball, it's over, bro. All right, so the Giants and the Lions, they got into it. We all saw it. We all saw exactly what happened. Malik Neighbors trotting, la la la, la la la, whap! What do the five fingers say to the face? Slap. And, you know, here's the thing, man. Malik was like, yeah, he's John. You know, he said this, he said that. But I ain't going to say what he said. Well, whatever he said must have warranted it, bro. So it's kind of worth noting what was said. Because it literally started a brawl. Which, for the record, you know, I've said this I don't know how many times over the course of my career. I don't know if people know this or not, but when dudes get together and shit gets heated, sometimes shit goes down. You know, it used to be in my generation, the saying was, if you don't start none, it won't be none. But people love to run their mouths. They love to talk shit. They love to do whatever. And because we don't know what was said, right, because it was just them two in the corner of the end zone. So who the hell heard it? You know, is the camera guy in close enough? My thing is, sometimes things go down. And if whatever he said was bad enough that it warranted a nice little fuck you to the face, well, and simultaneously, even if it wasn't, was or wasn't doesn't matter. Once you slap somebody in the face, helmet on or no, that is definitely grounds for the shits on. Right? It's hit the fan. It's fighting words. There's a 10 steps in a duel, whatever the case may be. Draw. Whatever it is, it's going down. And I think we need to get back to a place in learning how sometimes we as dudes communicate. The communication is very simple. Don't say that shit, fool. Okay. What you gonna do about it? Whap. Do it again. Well, I'm about to because now I'm running up on you. And it just needs to get settled. And then once it's over, it's over. Now, it could carry over. You know, it might not. Who the hell really knows? What I do know is there's probably going to be fines. There's probably going to be suspensions. Does anybody remember when Dion got into it with Andre Rison? Yeah. They didn't get thrown out of the game. In fact, didn't Dion pick off a play a little bit later on in that game and run it all the way back and then have the nerve to high step in a stadium that he said he built? And that was entertaining. It's entertaining. Look, I'm not advocating that people just go into melees all the time, all right? And if you're worried about your kids watching, then it's really simple. Hey, I don't want to see you acting like that. Here's why. I used to get mad on the football field. My papa tell me all the time, I see you doing that again. You're not playing. Of course, next week I forgot all about it, but it is what it is. When people are John, when people are saying shit, some people just don't let it slide. There are people out there that don't play that. There are people out there that are like, bro, I don't give a damn about football. You say the wrong thing and we have a problem. And if you retaliate with physical force, then anybody should say to themselves, we have a problem. Look, I'm glad that some people have never been in a fight in a day in their life. You've lived a squeaky clean life. You've never made anybody upset. Nobody's ever made you that upset. Good for you, bro. Apparently, you will do nothing if somebody runs up on you on the street. That's you. There are others out there, though, that will handle business. You don't believe me? Go look at what happened with Nick and Nate Diaz when they got ran up on. There's a reason why a judge cleared them. Do you understand that? There's a reason why they got cleared. Because it was self-defense. They ran up on the wrong ones. Then they tried to backtrack. Oh, no. You got into muddy, murky, deep waters with a shark, and you weren't able to swim fast enough. That's what that amounted to. Now you want a lawsuit? Why? Because you got your ass whipped? You don't get to sue because you lost the fight. That's not how this works. Look, bottom line, it went down. It's over with now. All right? Can we go back to talking about football? Jeez. All right, everybody, I am Drew Duncan. The show's fired up, and we are live. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. I'm wherever you listen in a podcast. Simply tell your device to play Fired Up by Drew Duncan. iTunes, iHeart, wherever you're listening, I am there. The HHN TV. WBFR, Block50Radio.com. Your local programming is next. Don't you dare touch that dial.